we can go to that person and say, I love you. It seems like when you play that game, your relationships get more withdrawn, or there's more drama in your relationships, or you're more isolated, or you're just more irritated. So it might be a kid who's more mean to his sister. You say, hey, I've noticed when you played that video game, you get more mean to your sister. And the child might say, yeah, that's because she's annoying. And you might say, no, she's always annoying. Like, you're more mean to her when you play that game. And it's important for us to be able to tease out, like, okay, is it like me where I coped with video games? So they weren't causing my problems. I went to video games as an easy way. If I had a great day, I celebrated with video games. If I had a fight with my wife, I processed with video games, but I didn't really process. I just stuffed it all down, felt amazing until I forgot about it, and let life roll forward until the next time we had this conversation.
Hello and welcome to What Would Jesus Tech? Jesus didn't have video games in his day, but we have plenty of options for gaming today, and we need to decide how to parent. One of the questions that I was thinking about in relation to this episode is, if Christian parenting were a video game, what video game would it be? Would it be a strategy game where you need to manipulate certain resources and factories in order to extrude the most, productivity? That's probably not it. Maybe there is something like a roguelike or a Legend of Zelda kind of game where it's a slow, you go through the motions. It's an open world exploration, a lot of decisions. What is Christian parenting like, and how are we to make decisions as parents in a digital age with plenty of video gaming options? I am approaching this conversation as a parent, but also as an adjunct professor at Heritage College and Seminary. I'm also a PhD student. Joining me is Austin. He is a pastor and a former social media manager and a gamer, right, Austin?
Gamer on hiatus. I am a lifelong gamer, but I'm taking a bit of a break from it. Not because I've changed my mind on gaming, but just because I just need some distance from it for a little bit.
Okay, what's your favorite game?
Oh, that's not fair. That's not fair. I mean, I think the objective answer would be Halo Combat Evolved, given that it defined an entire 15-year arc of my life, 20-year arc of my life, but not far from the only one.
Okay, Joel is here as well. Joel, you are a product manager, but you're also a gamer, correct?
Yeah, and I, for a long time, and still do wear that. It's a little bit of a badge of pride. And hot take on your question earlier, we're living in an RPG where we just try to be more like Jesus.
Ooh, that's like
I do. That is the correct answer. I agree with that.
Just max out all your Jesus stats.
Yeah, min-max. Just min-max your party to where you recreate the body of Christ with diverse skill sets.
So some of these references are going, some of our listeners will probably be like me in this episode, like, what are these video games? I removed myself from video games. I don't have a console in my house because I get so addicted to them. I play chess a lot, online chess, and that is just like a video game. I was
about to say, the current state of online chess is absolutely comparable to any other standard video game right now. It's not especially online chess fandom is absolutely identical to the fandom of any other video game. It's just not great.
Right. But we are joined by a guest. Nathan Sutherland is rejoining us. He was on the podcast before. We were talking before we hit record 3 years ago. He has a podcast called Gospel Tech. It has over 300 episodes. And I always say to people, it's because I sometimes will give a talk on parenting and digital or phones or things like that. And I'm like, there is a podcast dedicated to parenting from a Christian perspective. It's gospel centered and it's awesome. You have a bunch of other resources as well on your website. Thank you, Nathan, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
And are you a gamer? And what's your favorite game?
Yeah. I am no longer a gamer. I think I'm in more of your camp. I haven't played a video game in 14 years because they're awesome. And
yes,
yeah,
that's right. That's right.
That's my reason. I was laughing at your examples of what parenting is like and following Jesus. And when you said roguelike, I was thinking of Returnal, and just every time you start over and you're just the exact same broken person, but just now with more tools to deal with it.
Oh, yes.
So
good.
I'm
that's good.
That might be where I'm at on that. and I don't remember the rest of your question, but I'm currently, my wife likes to remind me that I apparently hid how nerdy I was when we dated, because while I don't have video games, my brain thinks in terms of nerddom. So it's an interesting world to walk, still be fascinated, still be impressed by the things that are made, and raise up 3 kiddos in that space, while also talking intentionally about we cut off and gouge out anything that distracts us from who God has called us to be and to experiencing him.
How old are your kids?
They're 12, 10, and 7. So 2 boys and a girl.
Right. So right around you're ahead of where all 3 of us are at. We all have our children of our own. And so have your kids requested to play video games? Have you navigated this conversation with them?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It started in kindergarten when a kid had a smartphone in class. That was conversation 1 with my eldest. He's like, when do I get a phone? I'm like, you're 6. Let's talk this out. What? And it's progressed from there. So yeah, they do ask for video games. It's a pretty quick conversation in terms of your dad's brain is broken. So we're not going to own video games. And then it spirals into but can I play with these friends? Can I play it on this computer because we don't need a console? You get all the pushing. And so our conversation generally is you can play with friends, not for friends. So I'm not buying into this whole, I need to have friends and therefore I'm going to go play CSGO or whatever Call of Duty or whatever everyone's played, Minecraft. We're not going to join a platform so that you can have friends because that makes you convenient, that makes you disposable. Instead,
that's good.
If you have friends, sure, go play Mario Kart. They were just at a party the other day. They had one of those stand-up arcades at this kid's house. And while swapping between swimming in the lake and playing pinball, they played, what was he telling me they played? NBA Jam, which I think he may have rage quit. And and then NFL Blitz and a Bomberman. They were playing some classic games. So those are fine. And we just have a conversation on the regular of hey, what's happening in our hearts when this happens. So I'm going to give you some context. You asked me a quick question. I'm going to add to this. I taught 6th grade this year. It was not planned. So I've been running this nonprofit for 7 years. In December, one of my kids' teachers quit. I had taught middle school for a decade. So I stepped into the classroom January to 2 days ago. And when my son would ask me all our friends are playing X game, can I play that? I'd be tell me which of those friends you want to be more like. While this is a hot take, this is to my own kid. So I'm sharing this with you because I got asked, but I have seen amazing kids who play video games. I have yet to meet a kid who is amazing because they play video games. So I want to repeat that. I've met amazing kids. They're high functioning. They're high emotional intelligence. They're incredible. They're going to be great people and followers of Jesus, and they play video games. I have yet to meet a kid where I'm man, I need my kid to be more like that kid. And the answer is this game they've got to tap into. So
yes, that's good.
To rephrase it in a less hot take way would be my wife when I wanted to introduce my son to Legend of Zelda, my favorite, most nostalgic game from growing up. I bought a thing called an analog. It's a NES system, a Super Nintendo system that basically can run on HDMI screens. They're out of Washington State, where I live. And so I bought this thing. I have the game. It's in a safe. So I quasi lied about not owning a console, but
it's in a safe.
It's in a safe, right? It's not accessed by anyone.
Do you have the key?
I have the key. Yeah, okay, I have it. It's in my cave of wonders that I keep. And I was all right, over Christmas, we're going to introduce this to the kids. And my wife goes, what would you want our kids not to do so that they could experience that? And I was oh, that's an unfair question, but it's true. They have full lives. They have things they love doing and they have passions, they have interests. And when they're not doing those things, they get that just smidge of boredom that then inspires them to go do amazing things. They use old baseball cards and play baseball using the stats and dice. And I think half of the rules are just made up on the spot. It's amazing. I was great.
Sick.
You're right. I don't want them not to do those things, but I want them to be nostalgic for my nostalgic things and take this from me. So we haven't yet introduced it. And that was 2 Christmases ago. And so that, yes, they ask for it. Yes, they play them. The baseline rule is play with, not for friends. I haven't been able to get over the idea of no, I don't want you to miss out on all these other things you're passionate about. So that's fine. But I'm still open to the idea, and I just can't play them personally because I don't have a dial. I only have a Switch, and that's good in some areas where the Lord uses it, and I have to trust him in other areas, even though I've had lots of arguments. I'm like, why, Lord, don't you just take it from me and let me be healthy? How about that as an option? And he has not seen my side of that argument yet. So
So this is individual ethics. There are differences that each individual parent might come down on. That's not the Christian. There's not the Christian approach to gaming is you wait until you're 13 to play video games. It's going to depend on a whole bunch of different contexts. So you're kind of getting into that. I kind of want you to steel man like the value of video games. Like if you could, I want to set up because Joel is just biting at like this conversation right now. Because Joel and I, like, we're friends. We hang out together as families. He cracked out the Smash Bros one time with like our kids together. And I sat in the room and Joel respectfully said, "Are you okay with this?" Like, he's a good friend and he's a good Christian. And he asked, and I was like, yeah, I think that's okay. And then 2 hours later, I was like itching in the corner. I don't know about this, but I was still okay with that. Very much a struggle. My wife and I had a very good conversation about it afterwards.
Yeah.
So Steelman, aren't video games not that bad? You can grow in virtue in other ways, and it can be a lot of fun.
Yes, you want me to steal? I mean, you just took some of my major talking points, Thunder.
Okay.
So if I'm steel manning video games, for full context, so I worked with an organization called Young Life, where we go to the kids, the farthest out kids who would never walk into a church, and we reach them with the gospel. This is while I was teaching in the public schools here in Washington State. And one of the things I did post giving up video games was run a Mario Kart tournament and then a different Smash Bros tournament. And like, we got 60 some odd kids, you've got 30 some odd teams, and like we run a full on like 3.5 hour tournament, which was a blast. And so you absolutely can use certain video games for kingdom work. I'm not saying that. I would say the benefit of and the good parts of video games these are people telling amazing. Okay, I have to put this in a category. Let me pause. Most AAA games no longer fit into this category because gaming production has turned into what's our bottom line. So we're watching games like Condor come out, belly flop, and they pulled the plug after 2 weeks. This was Sony's game last year. 2 weeks, we didn't hit the numbers we want, and all of your work is dead to us. And that breeds a cynicism within the production community to people who stay are people who are like, yeah, that's fine. You pay me well. So who cares what I'm producing? And you get Call of Duty. So with that in mind, I'm not talking about games that lack soul. I'm talking about games where people care about the production. They're making a good story. They're making it a world that is exciting and engaging and tells a story worth telling. And there is something worth fighting for in this story. With that in mind, you have the people that are making these stories that are being funded, by the way, by billion-dollar companies, are people who would be like, in the Old Testament, these are the people God's naming to be like, and that guy's a coppersmith, and that guy's a woodworker, and that guy's great with iron. Like, bring these people out and have them create a beautiful space. These are the most talented storytellers, behavioral designers, artists, musicians. Like the scale of the work and the products they're creating, be they little, Shovel Knight games or Stardew Valley games or whatever they might be, or larger games. I mentioned Returnal earlier, where they're powerful and they are a journey, and you do at the end of it get an experience of having been somewhere and experienced something, even if it was in your own mind. So I would put it on scale with Tolkien's argument for fantasy, this idea that why should we blame someone who's stuck in a prison for looking out the bars and imagining a world that's better? And I do think video games can get you there. The problem is they promise to keep you there. And we're like, that's fine. Lord, may your kingdom come and your will be done in my heart and my mind by inputting this baby in here instead of living in the brokenness of the world around me, which is why I can't play, because I use them to cope. So I think, yes, they're made by powerfully gifted people that God called to make beautiful things, and they can convey meaningful stories and experiences, which also is the downside. Like, don't let your 10-year-old play Returnal, because when they beat it twice, I won't spoil it for you, but holy moly, it turns out you're not fighting aliens. And you're dealing with a bigger discussion that is important, that is real, that's hard to convey in a game. So it's impressive they did it. But I think there's a lot of value there, and there are people that can handle it well. I know them. They're wonderful husbands, fathers, employees, engaging, well-read individuals who can look at an idea from multiple sides. And they happen to play video games, which is great.
Very good. Okay, so clearly there's lots of benefits to video games, just not for everyone, just some guidelines. So we're going to get into best practices, but I do want to give Austin and Joel, because I could just talk the whole time, but I have co-hosts for a reason. So do you guys want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start. I think everything Nathan said totally aligned with probably the way I framed it as that video games is a compound word, or like two words. The second part is games, right? So you can like generalize. Do we play sports games? Do we play board games? And what are the experiences you learn when you play sports? Are we against sports? Or are we against like the ability to learn how to like interact with an antagonist and how to navigate that situation? In board games, it's like, oh, okay, like I'm learning the mechanics of the game. So video games, if you like track their initial start and to where they are today, there's a Cambrian explosion of the types of video games you can have.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite games actually tended to be in real-time strategy, where I spent the most time. So that's your StarCraft, Command and Conquer,
Age of Empire.
Yeah, Civilization is probably where I spent countless hours.
Oh yeah,
just
same.
thinking about this like leader in this part of the world, and there's mountains, and that led to their advantage in this region. So for me, it really was about strategy. That's not to say that like all games are like that, and there are mindless killing games and all that type of stuff. But there are definitely lessons to be learned, and I think using that. Common sense, or what we hope to share with here in this episode with good practices, would help people who don't have that natural intuition of like, is this a good game? Is this good for me? And is this good generally?
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything you said, Nathan, but there's one thing that you talked about that I'm not sure I'm fully on board with, even though I think on the surface it's right. You talked about games just wanting to keep you there. That especially after games like Returnal being a good example, where they require multiple full playthroughs to get the full story, and that's definitely true. But the thing that's kind of nagging me is has that not been the case with a lot of non-video game fandoms for some time now? So you think of the current state of like the Star Wars fandom as being a good example of this. Like, these are all adults, my age and older, who are still just kind of deeply stuck revisiting the same 6 movies over and over again. And just like you see Star Wars conventions, and it's all dudes and men and women just going to insane degrees to cosplay Jedis or Stormtroopers or Darth Vader or whatever. And I do think that, yes, there is something unique about the interactivity of video games that can definitely keep you locked in for a long time. I mean, even for single player games, like that's definitely true. And for multiplayer games, I mean, I played, I was an esports player in the Halo 5 competitive circuit for several years and played a crap ton of Halo Infinite. But like, I'm just not sure if that's a unique property of gaming. And I wonder if that's more of a unique property of fandom. Is the thing that draws us back to it over and over again. Because there is a longing to continue to participation in those worlds. It's the reason why people continue to stick around with Lewis and Tolkien, even after they've read Narnia or the Space Trilogy or Lord of the Rings for the 10th time or whatever. It's because these are worlds we want to keep inhabiting. These are worlds that we want to continue to belong to, and I don't think that's just unique to video games.
Yeah. I would agree that it's not unique to video games. Returnal is a game I would put on the good side. I mentioned specifically Call of Duty by name.
For sure.
That is a soulless game, and I think
100%.
Yeah, I would point to Prestige classes as a unique engagement tactic. Where if you ask anyone who has played Call of Duty, and it's got anywhere from 9 to 13 hours of content. Then you have multiplayer, and they have unique challenges. You got to use a pistol and get 15 kills and do whatever. And then you gain enough points and you get to level 50 and you cash in for Prestige Class 1. You ask anyone who's attempted to upgrade their prestige classes, which are taking somewhere around 20 hours a pop to get through this. So you are doubling your playtime every time. I mean, 10 to 20, depends who you are, how many bonuses you go for and stuff. But let's go on the low end, 10 hours. So you've doubled your playtime to get to prestige class 1. And there's, depending on the version you're playing, 8 or 9 prestige classes. You have 8x'd the engagement of those players. You ask anyone who's cared about prestige classes, have you ever played this game after it was no longer fun? And they'll say yes. And you say why? And they'll say, I already was so far in.
Which is 100%.
Fallacy. And they're absolutely leveraging human psychology. When we talk about behavioral design, that's what we mean. You're wired a certain way. Gaming companies know that, and they are willing to manipulate you in order to get you to stay a little longer than you even wanted. And anytime you're coming back more often than you intended, we have to ask why. Like, again, fandom, nostalgia, all these things, we come back because we love it, because it's been of value to us. So someone spends analog time designing their costume and going to cosplay. That took real world investment and time, and there was zero overstimulation or behavioral manipulation that caused them to do that. Maybe it's still unhealthy for them. We do lots of unhealthy things at the pace of real life. Video games didn't break the world. Sin did. But video games encourage you to make decisions you didn't intend to make. And they do that everything from haptic feedback through the controllers to levels and points and flashing lights to basic behavioral design. Halo was the first game that had a behavioral psychologist on the team.
It's true.
And from there, we have that's just a de facto part of game design. We call it player exhaustion when a player quits playing. And we're like, well, how can we stop that? And we found things like, well, we can give them rewards, but if we jump the shark on the rewards, we make it too big. The next time we give them a smaller reward, it feels like a punishment and they quit. I mean, everything from when you take a hit in a game and it shows you the lowered HP and then it slides down, that's for player engagement. It helps us. The feeling of getting hit and taking all that damage at once was causing players to walk away. And when they can watch it happen, we can more wrap our brain around the amount of damage we just took and be more okay with it. And like the number of things we've done to ensure that players experience the appropriate amount of trauma is what makes it different from real life. Real life does not give us an appropriate amount of trauma, and it is not designed to be beatable. And that's when I was teaching 6th grade. I was like, adulting isn't necessarily hard. Adulting is difficult because all the things happen all at once. Like there's no single part of being an adult or even a parent that's hard. It's that you're doing it on no sleep for the 9th month in a row. Like that starts to get difficult. And oh, by the way, there's this person you love that you haven't seen in 3 weeks. Like this, it gets hard. And so when I think about video games, the reason they're different from a board game, I've yet to meet a person who's overstimulated from a board game. I've met lots of people that are overstimulated by top tier video games. I've
got some board games that I've been overstimulated from.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say over-engage. I literally mean overstimulated. And that by that meaning the amount of dopamine hits you're able to get in a given amount of time to the point where the pace of real life is no longer able to satisfy. So, for example, I can't play Dungeons and Dragons because the RPG nature. My game was not. My video game of choice was RPGs. So I can't play Dungeons and Dragons because it's too in-depth and I can nerd out on all the stats for days. I'm not overstimulated, but I am overfixated. And that's different. Because the video games tap into my ability to fixate, they can overstimulate me because I would go and play RPGs until, my eyes fell out. The reason I point that out is there is a tabletop game I can play. There's Edge of the Empires, a Star Wars game. I play it with my kids. I play it with some friends. And I don't have the way the rule set works is it's story focused. So you roll dice not to focus on stats, but to focus on outcomes. So if you get a success, you have to actually say what the success was, the numbers. You don't have like a, Warhammer +7 with fire damage. You have a blaster and you got 3 successes more than failures. So like what happens next? And it's collaborative storytelling. And I have found that very easy to put down and walk away. It's probably been 6 months since I played it last. It's fun. I would love to play it again, but I don't fall asleep thinking about it. I don't daydream about it. I don't prep for it like when I'm not playing it. And the reason I point that out is, yes, I'm still a nerd. Yes, I still get engaged. Yes, there are analog real-paced games that tap into an unhealthy part of my previous choices that are very hard to manage. Like they're just not worth the cost. And then there's video games, which do the exact same amount of engagement and storytelling and things. But some of them are just flat out mean in the way they're designed. I would, again, Call of Duty being top tier. You could pivot over to something like social media. You'll see it in Oh, actually, I want them to go social media. Go to Duolingo. Duolingo, you learn a language, and they'll, you want to go learn Spanish for 15 minutes, they'll let you, and at the end of 15 minutes, they'll either say you're only 50 points away from Emerald League, or you're going to get demoted a league. Like, we didn't want to have to do this to you. And that's just like Hebbian theory of learning 101. It's operant conditioning. You're a rat in a cage, and they'll give you the treat, or they'll electrify the floor, or whatever they need to do to get you used to coming back, so that just becomes a tick. It's not bad to spend 20 minutes instead of 15 on Duolingo. The only problem is you spent 33% more time because the tech told you to.
Yes.
And that's when I say overstimulation is the by design piece. Endless quests, endless feedback, endless next tasks that make you dissatisfied at the pace of real life because you can get your rewards so fast and feel so successful so quickly. This happens equally in games like Minecraft, which are a wonderful idea, but they are not Legos.
Yeah, no, they're not. No,
Minecraft is not Legos.
No, not at all.
Dimitri Christakis used to run the Seattle Children's Research Institute here in Seattle, Washington, and he said Minecraft was the most addictive game he'd seen for kids.
Yes, 100%.
Microsoft paid $4 billion for it. They haven't lost a dime. I love the concept and I love Legos, but I have never had a parent come to me and be like, man, my kid, he's just not getting his schoolwork done. Like, he's staying up too late. He's waking up early. He's sneaking bags of Legos, and we're super worried about him. But I hear that on the regular with kids under the age of 15 who have an iPad or have a phone or have regular access. And it's a constant struggle. It's creative. There's building involved. They're learning engineering. It's social. It's safe enough because you can run it on private servers. And something about the infinite nature of Minecraft and the creativity that's involved in it, the fact that you don't have to stop, like, it does overstimulate kids. They have a hard time falling asleep afterwards. They have a hard time walking away. They have a hard time diversifying their interests. And so, this is a lot of words to say, but that's what I was trying to get to. Is I'm not just talking about that nerd heart, because I do think all of us have an aspect of, some people it's just their vacation to somewhere warm, but we fixate on like the beautiful, right? And we have this idea of like, there's a kingdom coming and a will that will be done that isn't being done right now. And we can find that in fantasy. We can find that in board games. We can find that in video games. The video games come with a goal of their own, though, and that goal is engagement. And while some of the older games are not as, again, pre-Halo, Mario doesn't have as much of that. It's more of a game. Games will have a challenge, games will have a rule set, and games will have a victory condition. And a lot of video games do not have a victory condition. They're no longer truly games, to go to Joel's point, actually. Cookie Tapper, like some kids would call that a game. That is not a game, people. Like, there's no victory condition. That is just a dopamine short circuit that we are using to just flood our brain. So there's a wide array of what we call games. Some of them are truly games. Some of them, even with their engagement strategies, are well worth the price of investment. Mario Kart is a game my kids have played and will continue to play, because it's a wide array of skills and passions can play that and still be friends as they walk away. So that's what I was getting to for how I believe it is different in my experience, and then based on the research, it is different in its ability to direct behavior and its ability to draw engagement, and why some of us struggle with video games that we don't struggle in other areas. Like, I have never, ever in my life overplayed a sport. Like, I never have. Like, it turns out that's tiring. I get tired and I sit down. Like, I love riding bikes. Max I'll ride a bike is for 4 hours? And certainly not every day. Whereas I was able to put 4 to 8 hours in on video games on just like an average day. Like, I just call that Tuesday. The fatigue is different. And you would know on the pro tour, what pros are putting in 6 days a week would make you just about anything. Like, 10 to 14 hours a day, 6 days a week at anything. There's a good chance you'll be good at it. And so when I was an esports player, I mean, I was playing, I had a job, I had 2 jobs. I was a student. So this was just purely my like recreation for an extended period of my life. And we were putting in maybe an hour or 2 a night on tournament weeks. And we would get our butts handed to us within the first or second round of any tournament that we played, just because the kids that we were playing against were much younger than us. I was in my mid-20s, which makes me like way too old to play this. But we were getting smoked by kids who that was quite literally what they were doing every waking minute that they weren't doing something else. They were practicing for 4 to 5 to 6 hours a day, and they would have the stamina to commit to a tournament that, I mean, shoot, these tournaments would start at 10 a.m. and the finals for a particular tournament wouldn't happen until 8 or 9 p.m. and they were playing the whole time.
like I still watch the Halo majors whenever they happen. It's off. It's done for the season, but I watched every major LAN tournament and the World Championships. And like those guys are doing 14 hours a day, 3 days a week, and that's just the days of the tournament. That's not in the days leading up to the tournament.
Right.
There is an all-consuming nature to it that just does not exist anywhere else. You're absolutely right about that.
Well, I know actually this might be a interesting analogy that came to me as you were describing that. I think this parallel of like analog games, digital games, overstimulation, there's a level of like repeated dopamine hits. And up until now, I would have said like, yeah, this is like something that's uniquely video games. But just recently, I've been finding myself having these same feelings, but towards AI and code generation or product creation. And it's like this interesting thing of like, yeah, writing code the traditional way was very mentally taxing, right? You had to really think about it and stuff. But when you can just literally speak to it, have voice to text, the model goes and creates it, you see what you created, you're in this like creation dopamine loop similar to Minecraft. And it's endless because you can keep creating things. And what you're seeing in this space is that people I mentioned before are becoming AI vampires, where they're like staying up late at night just to code, and they're like, can't stop thinking about it. And like, there's also this existential factor of like, if this keeps happening, where is the world going to go? So I have to spend even more time because
and the design of it. We talk about AI all the time, but it is, just to add to your point, Joel, like, what is it with Claude saying to me, oh, you've reached your max token limit? It will refresh at 2 a.m, right?
That's actually
like,
that's actually a holdover. It's a holdover from the earliest days of smartphone gaming, where you would play very early smartphone games and it would kind of operate on the same limit of like, oh, you've played the number of rounds or you've played the number of times, whatever. Your limit will refresh, 4 hours from now. But if you spend $10, you can bypass that.
Clash.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what we need to all be aware of is all these like little tactics. And that's what I think we've done. If we were going to like distill some of the best practices that listeners might be taking away, that I'm taking away, is to reflect on the kind of addiction that the game might be bringing in. But what are some other, and I love the phrase, do it with your friends, not for friends. You're not playing the video game to make friends. There's so much wisdom wrapped up in that mini phrase that I can teach to my kids. It's like, we don't play video games so that you can have friends.
Yes.
What are some other, pieces of parenting best practices that you would recommend, Nathan? I know that you literally have a whole podcast on this, 300 episodes to talk about best practices parenting. But thinking about video games, thinking about, in this age range that your kids are at.
Yeah. Well, first of all, what kind of time? We didn't actually talk about time, and I want to make sure I'm respectful of whatever your expectation.
Austin has to leave a little early, but we have up until the end of the hour. So we got another 20 minutes.
Everything Nathan is saying, it's like, I don't need to be here. He's saying everything that like absolutely needs to be
Austin,
said on the
your
subject.
Voice matters. We are in this conversation together.
No. It's great that somebody who like actually knows and understands video games is like speaking intelligently about video games, because I get really annoyed in kind of the current screen time parenting discourse when parents are talking about video games who obviously and transparently don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. So it's great that somebody actually knows this.
Yeah, and I will say, Austin, to that, it is frustrating. I find myself steel manning video games a lot because people come out and be like, well, they ruined my kid.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, okay. Like, I don't know your kid and I don't know the situation, but just there's a major national organization where this was this big hot take, and then trotted out other kids from the same family and be like, yeah, we're good because we never played video games. I'm like, oh, that's the counseling you're already
oh my gosh,
saving for it, because these kids, like, that's not cool. But also the older kid isn't dead. Like, so anyway, awkward. All that to say, I want to hold this conversation, and have the conversation gently, because I I do think that we can do more damage than good in just demonizing the video games, and yet not giving them a free pass just because we like them and they're awesome. And by the way, AI vampire Joel, I've written it down. I am chewing on this. That is
there's absolutely a parallel to that in video games. Like the feeling of vampirism is a like baseline experience for most gamers today.
Yeah, but like the Minecraft, the limitless creativity of Minecraft has now transferred to the real world, and like I had not made that connection, and I'm chewing on it. I've written it down. I'm going to reflect, and I don't even know what's going on. Like it just sparked something in the back of my brain. I'm like, well, that's gonna be a 2 a.m. wake up for sure as I'm like thinking through it. Okay, but your question was, what are some parenting things that might be helpful without being overwhelming? I would say the thing I go to the most that I have found, yes, for parenting, for conversations about gaming, but also for those adults who game, is the idea of I called it a reset. It's an acronym that stands for relationships, emotions, sleep, enjoyment, time. And these are the 5 categories we can look at and say, our case in this conversation, does gaming make this better or worse? Relationships, emotions, sleep, enjoyment, time. And if it makes it worse, we can go to that person and say, hey, I love you. It seems like when you play that game, your relationships get more withdrawn, or there's more drama in your relationships, or you're more isolated, or you're just more irritated. So it might be a kid who's more mean to his sister. You say, hey, I've noticed when you play that video game, you get more mean to your sister. And the child might say, yeah, that's because she's annoying. And you might say, no, she's always annoying. Like you're more mean to her when you play that game. And it's important for us to be able to tease out like, okay, is it like me where I coped with video games? So they weren't causing my problems. I went to video games as an easy way. If I had a great day, I celebrated with video games. If I had a fight with my wife, I processed with video games, but I didn't really process. I just stuffed it all down, felt amazing until I forgot about it, and let life roll forward until the next time we had this conversation. So we want to know, like, are video games causing this? Like, are you playing it and now your attitude changes and now you're more mean? Or is it just you want 30 minutes to yourself and your sister's literally like standing in front of you, right? And you're just like so focused. It'd be the same thing if I was reading a book and someone was like coming, like I would get irritable. That's very reasonable. When I go out in the garage and ride my bike on a trainer, like I don't like to be interrupted. I'm in a lot of pain here. Don't ask me complex questions. So like sometimes you just need your own space. So we want to ask that though, because we don't know if the video games are the cause or a symptom until we ask. And then, so relationships and emotions, I'm not saying like I feel good when I play this, but do we need it to self-regulate? The most simple tech, not gaming related, one that I've seen just in walking down the street is people with one AirPod in and like a slow drip of lo-fi because they feel anxious in crowds. And that's a coping mechanism. And I don't blame them, but we need to recognize like that's not a long-term solution. Like you should not function as a child of God without the ability to be in quiet and the ability to be around others and be fully present there. So we call it what it is. We start asking, again, maybe the anxiety is caused by something outside of life. Maybe it's a holdover from their COVID isolation years. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just a bad habit. Or maybe something's going on and we don't know how else to deal with it. And this helps for now and we can get through. Fine. You'll see a lot of kids with hoods up as well. Like the whole hood up inside thing is just, it's a comfort blanket. It's a stuffy they can take with them. Sometimes there's literal stuffies. I had actual stuffies showing up in class. Okay, ask the question about emotions. Do you need this to be okay? And the way we generally spot that is, hey, sorry, tonight's normally your night to play video games, but we're going to this swim meet with sister and we're just going to skip it for tonight. And the wheels fall off, right? Life isn't worth living. You guys hate me. It's more than just I was so excited. Now I don't get to do the thing I'm excited. It's I don't know how to cope with reality if I don't have this thing. Why are you doing this to me? Yeah. If we get that reaction, we go, whoa, this is a kid who's wrestling and using this to process reality. Like, is the game the problem or is it just symptomatic? Both of those probably have the same solution, by the way. So Gene Twenge wrote a book about the health of tech and basically said it takes 30 days to reset. If we do have a kid who's just overstimulated and their emotions can't calibrate to the pace of real life, so real life can't feel fun because the rewards don't come fast enough, it is literally just a 30-day step back, just like you would with anything else that might be causing inflammation or problems in your body. I just went to a nutritionist. She's like, no dairy, no refined sugars for 30 days. And then we'll like add it back in and we'll start with butter and then you'll move on from there. And so like, okay, like we want to know what's causing the problems. And so we give it 30 days. The same is true with tech. If you think it might be the video game, give it 30 days. Your kid won't break. Worst case scenario, they find something else fun. But do not just punish them with this by pulling their game and forcing them to watch paint dry. Like, there are ways to have analog adventures and do fun things at the pace of real life. So you do need to replace. I just want to say that out loud so the parents are like, I've been right. I had fun as a kid. You can too. They literally don't know how to have fun at the pace of real life. If they're in that situation, real life doesn't feel fun. So don't just hand them a puzzle in a dark room and expect them not to just cry themselves to sleep. So, all right. Moving on from there would be sleep. If you have entertainment technology in the bedroom, I split tech into two categories: tool tech that helps us create, drool tech that helps us consume. That's a technology that's designed to engage and to take your time, focus, and money. So it can be anything from Duolingo to YouTube. It doesn't make it bad. It comes with goals of its own. It has the goal of keeping you engaged, whereas Microsoft Word currently doesn't. Its goal is just to help you write.
Currently, so, who knows what they're adding?
Who knows what
the
Copilot
AI
will
features?
Do. Yeah, I fully expect in the next year to get a text from Microsoft Word that's like, "Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. I thought maybe we could write a haiku together." It probably will, but currently Microsoft Word doesn't do that. Lord help us. So if you have drool tech in the bedroom, if you have that entertainment tech in terms of screens, if you have $1,000 smart alarm clock, right? Like, that's my alarm clock is so dumb I put sticky notes on it. That's how distractible I am. I have to put my notes on the outside of the phone.
Yeah, phones in bedrooms. It's one of the easiest switches you can make to be a little more healthy with your tech habits, and model it and then enforce it with your kids. We put little tech that we've added to our bedrooms for our kids, little lights beside their bed so that they can read. Yeah. It was like my wife figured that one out, not me. I take no credit. But I'm so happy about it now because it's like, okay, you can't fall asleep. You can read a book. And they have like a little bookshelf by their bed. Anyways. So our relationship, emotion, sleep, that's the rest. And then we got the last two for
enjoyment. And I want to on sleep real quick. If you're using a Kindle for your kids, they are pretty hard to lock down. They do have the internet, and they usually have all of the text on there. So they can just go through Libby library and download whatever they want. I love the analog books. And if you end up having to buy one a week, this is just the book you read in bed, that's still cheaper than counseling. So I would encourage you to
physical books. Physical books.
Yeah. Then enjoyment, again, it's the diversity. Is this engaging this game expanding your interest and passions, or is it absorbing them? So that this kind of has eclipsed. I always think of that really old Simpsons when Mr. Burns is like, since the beginning of time, man has wanted to blot out the sun. And he creates a disc and makes people pay for sunlight. And I feel like sometimes our interests do that, where they eclipse everything underneath them. And now our other passions and interests and friendships wilt because this new, kind of omega interest has entered. We're looking for that. And if it is, then we remove that one. And there are certainly some games where, you know what? Like I mentioned, Dungeons and Dragons, that's too big of an omega interest. It's not because it's electronic. It's because of my heart and mind. And I just need to be faithful with that. And then time. I simply aim at contentment. If we said it was 30 minutes, if we said it was an hour and a half, if we said it was whatever our time limit was, we need to be content. And if you are peppering me, if you are heckling me, if you are beating me down with your words, I need to recognize this seems to have an unfair pull on you, because you're not doing this about, chores and other opportunities. It's this specific thing. And if you're not content with the time, let's take a step back. And maybe we start with our week off before we go to a full month. But we do need a step back. This seems to be 30 minutes is not enough. And it can happen with anything. It can happen with coding. We've had it happen with Scratch. We've had it happen with chess.com. These same behaviors can happen with anything. It's just that the drool tech side, the entertainment tech, is designed for engagement. It's designed to build these behaviors. And therefore, when you say 15 minutes left on Duolingo says you actually have 20, it is making the fight. And we're just looking for symptoms of that coming up. We're going to have the conversations. And again, great for a spouse who goes, well, video games are my thing. This is how I escape. This is how I recharge. That's fine. Then when you go to video games and you come back to us, your reset should reflect that. Your relationships and emotions and sleep and enjoyment and time should be healthier, and you should be more content and more ready to invest in us. And if you're not, that becomes the talking point. I'm not mad at you. I don't blame video games. I simply want to know, hey, you said you were going to go recharge, and I've noticed emotionally you're distant when that video game is in your life. We just don't get first fiddle in your heart when this game also is competing. Those are words that work with a spouse. Those are words that work with the kids, because you're not blaming the kid. You're asking them a question. You're putting priority of their wellness at the front. You're pointing them back to who God's called them to be, and you're really fighting for your family, not just with them, about this technology.
Really good. Really solid stuff. Yeah. Reset. And there's simple questions to ask. It's funny to go like super nerdy theologically. One of the things that you are doing is you're saying there is a potential for you to change in light of your technology use. And we need to reflect on how you have changed in light of that. That is the exact same pattern that scripture uses for idols. So in Psalm 115, those who trust in idols, Psalm 115, verse 8, become like them. And then there is this numbing effect to our interaction with idols. And so one of the things you can do, according to scripture, is that if you have an idol in your life, an unhealthy preoccupation with something, it's probably changing you as a result. Not probably, it is changing you as a result. As soon as you give it that God status in your heart, then it's going to affect you to be a little bit more stubborn, a little bit more angry or anxious, or something's going to happen to you. You can read about the blessings and curses that come as a result of idolatry in Deuteronomy 4, as well as Deuteronomy 28 and 29. So there's this deep resonance with who are we shaping ourselves into? And if we elevate technology, we become like it, or if we become like Christ, we become like him. And there really is these two paths that we're on. We can use technology still in our path to become more like Jesus. It's just what's first in our heart, what is taking that God spot. And I think your wisdom is super helpful to kind of navigate that and to reflect, to reset. It's super practical, but there's actually a ton of biblical wisdom and tech wisdom behind what you're talking about.
Yeah. I love those connections. That's exactly right. We can use them to reflect where our idols are and help faithfully turn those over, right? That Matthew 5:28 through 30 is always in my mind of like, nothing is off the table if it causes me to trust in something other than God. And that's my phone, my favorite apps that I use for my own job, my job itself. Like whether it be the travel or the work that I do, or just even the tech I have to be on a regular basis. Like if I'm that weaker brother and I simply can't, put enough hedges around it to be safe, like all that's expendable because it's not worth gaining the world and losing my soul. And I think that's what I want to equip gamers and tech users of all ages and ilks to recognize, like, yeah, this is amazing as long as it's a blessing, as long as it reflects. And I would say it absolutely can be and has been. And I don't regret. I do like to tell people, like, I don't regret playing video games growing up. Like my era of GoldenEye with all of my friends, like those are sweet memories. I'm still friends with a number of those people from, we're going 25 years ago. And those are great. And that was wonderful. It was when I started avoiding people in order to get my rush. People became inconvenient to me. And that's not the way Jesus sees people. And that means that my heart was in the wrong spot. And if that consistently happens by my introduction of this piece of technology, in this case, video games, then the video games officially became expendable because I'm not and others are not in God's kingdom.
Yeah.
Maybe a bonus question that's a little bit tangential. It seems like you know quite a bit about games, probably more than me, or staying up to date with them, even though you're not playing them, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I've always felt that there is this void of a game that teaches, the story of the gospel, right? And maybe there is that. Recently, the David movie came out, and I think it actually was done well, very engaging. A lot of people really enjoyed it. And it conveyed like so many layers, so that people could kind of like process that. And in those moments, I was like, oh, it would be great if there was a RPG game. You're a kid in Jesus time and all of these things are happening and you're kind of like experiencing it and you're putting yourself in that shoes. Maybe why do you think that hasn't happened yet? Is it just a production issue, or maybe have I missed it and there is like some stuff out there?
I've seen a lot of attempts. Man, there's a lot of attempts. There are entire Reddit threads about the last 15 years, people trying to make like the Skyrim of Jesus's world. And then it turns into platformers. And then it turns into, I have yet to see what you are saying of kind of the open world exploration of Jesus's time. I would say it's not so much the limits of game design, but the limits of storytelling. And the people that attempt to do it are coming out with an axe to grind. And they want to make sure you come out with the right view of Jesus and of this world. And because they're kind of dragging you through it, it's not scripture, so it's not verbatim. And therefore it feels cringy when people play it. It doesn't feel like an honest game. It feels like, okay, like you're just preaching at me, and like I'm not here to get preached to. Like I'm here to like have an experience. So I think we have yet to have someone make the world where there's an honest exploration process where you're allowing people like rebellion in the process. And then I do think video games have like the Fallout series where like we have just a dark sense of humor if we're into video games and you're around them long enough. Where like you want to see like how many people in this town can I eliminate? Like it there's a dark, right? Like it's going to turn into GTA very quickly. And so I do think there's just like a who are you drawing in? Who are the people actually playing this? You mentioned your love of RTSs, which rest in peace, real-time strategy games. Like I just wish we could come back. And so one of my banes is going back and watching StarCraft 2 pro gameplay. Like I love Loki.
That was a thing. I was super into watching StarCraft 2, even though I never.
Because I don't have 600 actions per minute. Like you kidding me?
No, but it was so impressive and super interesting.
Move that fast, but it's amazing what they can do. Thermal still blows my mind. So, well, what did that turn into? It turned into League of Legends. Like one of the most toxic gaming environments we've ever had because it was a cool fan-made idea. And it spiraled into this, $20 million purse gaming competition now. So that is speaking to like, what if you made an honest game that allowed them to experience a real thing? Well, you might just end up with League of Legends set in Jesus's time or Grand Theft Auto. I would say the best example, and this is a deep pull, but that Dragon Cancer, I think is one of the most powerful serious games in terms of conveying I always forget the name of the game that deals with schizophrenia.
Oh yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Anyway, there are games that deal with hard subjects or like mental breakdowns. Shout out Returnal for the third time. But they deal with real subjects and they deal with it well. Honest game telling. So this would be the Breath of the Wild, where like you're allowed to tackle this game in any order you want because the game is well made and you're going to be a part of that story. I just haven't seen someone give it an honest crack at doing that. And then I do think funding dries up at some point because they're usually 1 to 3 person teams. I gotta think you could do it and convey the gospel well. I met someone at a conference I was just in Florida, and her passion is to make a platformer. I would say it's going to be like Stardew Valley, but set in Jesus's time with scripture. And the premise that things you're collecting are like the fruit of the spirit, and there's scripture that comes out with that. And like, I think that could be very valuable. True Play Games is trying, TRU Play Games, is trying to do that. But what I have witnessed is that they have a couple games that are very biblical, very sound, very well made. And then it appears like funding is a real thing and you have to make games people want. So they just reskin popular games with some Bible verses. Again, I don't blame them. I'm not the one trying to run a major gaming industry. Like it is hard to do this in the current environment. And so I would say like sometimes that is a problem too. It's just, where's your market? How are you doing this? And I think basically independently wealthy and willing to take a risk. That's just willing to like fundraise this.
Someone who can maybe hire you as a consultant and be like, hey, instead of the Jesus time game, let's actually do like the David story, where it's like you could actually like convey the gospel, but it has more like of the war and these other elements that could be like mainstream. So
and I think those like the Wing Feather Saga and like these book series that have like really good gospel embedded in them, and you can tell a story of trial and of warfare and of friendship and of love and of sacrifice without having to have like a one-to-one Jesus. But still telling the truth. And I mean, people are doing it with horror movies all the time. Like if you get anywhere into the horror like fandom, like the number of people be like, I love Jesus and here's how he's shown, and it's like, whoa, I don't see it, but okay. But like they're using like the most grotesque of metaphors in order to talk about sin and brokenness and a need for a savior. We got to be able to do better in the gaming industry. So
here's a call.
Speaking of tangents though, 3 years ago we talked about educational tech, and I was like, our problem is actually the platform. And the school I just worked for, I don't know if this will be the solution, but the MacBook Neo is the closest I've seen where you get a device that is not web run. It comes with its own hardware,
Tool tech, not drool tech.
Tool
Finally,
tech, and
for the
because of the
classroom.
Mac screen settings from the network level, you don't play whack-a-mole with all the bad stuff on the internet. You lock down everything and only release the apps you want. So they can use Britannica, they can use Culture Grams, they can use Pages, they can use Game Design, you could go to Scratch and but only Scratch edu is going to work. And I love that idea of we're going to give you the tools on a robust system that's capable of making games and videos and editing and doing all the stuff, but we're not just sending you to Safari or Google to do your project. We are going to bring those resources in. We're going to limit your access. You're not going to get on YouTube to do your research project. So I don't know that the Neo is it, but it's the closest I've seen for a mass production product that could meet the price point and capabilities of a really solid learning platform, not an entertainment platform that we've co-opted for education. And I think so it's been 3 years. It's the first time I've been encouraged by that.
Yeah,
I
I'll
am
send you
super
stuff
glad
on
to hear
Alpha
that.
School, by the way.
What's that?
If you haven't heard of Alpha School, I'll send you some stuff on that too.
Send me some stuff on Alpha School.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole tangent too. Okay, there's so much to discuss, but we've got to wrap up. This has been a pleasure. How can people find out about your work, Nathan, and follow your stuff?
Yeah, gospeltech.net or gospeltech anywhere podcasts are listened to. We have some exciting things in the work. I won't tease them out here, but again, just finishing teaching means I'm back down to one job. Yes. And we are just super passionate about seeing young people equipped to live as God called them to live, and then to equip families, parents, teachers, pastors, mentors, to raise up young people in the way they should go. So those are the kinds of resources we're trying to do. And gospeltech.net or the podcast are the two best ways to find us right now.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll finish with this closing note on, if I want there to be a listener in our audience or a group of them who create the next actually good video game. And when I think about what you need to do to create a good Christian video game, I think you need to be inspired by the C.S. Lewis and Tolkien's. And in order for them to build what they built in terms of the Lord of the Rings, Chronicles of Narnia, probably the most influential theological works in the 20th century. There's a hot take for you, but they're probably, in terms of theologians and in the 20th century, I mean, they're not true theologians, but in many ways, that's what they did. In order for that to happen, you need to have the inklings, which is the friendship between them, the sense of camaraderie and friendship that happens. We don't have the same deep, friendship going to the pub all the time, but you can join our Discord group. You're invited as well, Nathan. And our listeners are invited to do that. We do get together every once in a while in person for those who are around the Kitchener-Waterloo area. We just went out last week. So it's not for any paid gated thing. It's just anybody who wants to join, listeners and friends alike. And we can be like inklings online, discussing our projects, working on things, and building a better and more Christian world, hopefully. So thanks for joining us, Nathan. Thank you to our listeners. Use tech, find rest, glorify God. Bye now.
See ya.
See ya.